Hello, everyone, and welcome. And as an introduction to this meditation, we discover that often when we sit down to meditate, that the mind has other ideas, that we are concerned with things, that we have a mental tendency to fixate on certain kinds of thoughts, ideas, concerns that we have, and that the simple act of coming back to focus on the breathing can be challenging because the mind has other ideas. There's this strong tendency to be focused on the concerns or focus on the distractions or the fantasies or whatever it might be. And sometimes the mind, when it's focused on its concerns, can be locked in. Sometimes there can be a strong force in that direction, and the mind is not soft or in a receptive, relaxed way because it's concerned about something. There's energy in it. And so one of the things that happens in meditation is softening of that kind of fixation of the mind or preoccupation of the mind, the energy that's so directed at our concerns that sometimes is locked in. And there's a softening that, a yielding of that, a quieting of that, a stilling of it that happens. And without that quieting and softening of it, meditation is a battle. And to come back to the breath over and over again. And sometimes it adds more tension sometimes because of the struggle between these two forces. But if we understand that part of what we're doing in returning to the breathing and focusing on the breathing is helping the mind begin to soften the grip of those concerns, soften its tightness around its energy, its kind of forceful directedness at certain concerns and preoccupations, or even with the thinking itself. And then it might be more easier not to have this a battle, but to find a kind of supportive way and a helpful way to support that stilling, softening of the mind so that we can stay more focused on the breathing without that being fixated, without that being tight. And so one of the ways to do this is to, of course the mind will wander off in thought, is to be very careful how you begin again with your breathing, how you resume the focus on the breathing. It's important not to jerk the mind back or forcefully put the mind back or to be critical and upset with the fact that the mind wandered off in thought and is preoccupied, but rather to find a way that's actually pleasant, believe it or not, a pleasant way of returning to the breathing and being there. That the very movement of returning or beginning again or coming back to the breathing or letting the breathing come back into awareness feels like a enjoyable movement. It's like a Tai Chi move that just feels so beautiful, or it feels like it's very graceful. And so that even so much so we look forward to that movement of returning. And so that the very returning to the breathing then can contribute to the softening of the thinking mind. And then we come back and we do it over and over again, and slowly the thinking mind relaxes. Sometimes it relaxes because we relax the thinking muscle. Sometimes we can actually quiet a little bit the thinking, just to calm it down, just intentionally. Sometimes it's just the fact that we're not reinforcing it by continually pouring our mental attention into it, our energy into it. It stops being fed, and so it quiets down. Sometimes with time, our ability to stay focused on the breathing improves, not because it's a forceful attention, but we've learned to have this kind of steady, committed attention to the breathing, that where the interest now becomes stronger to stay there than it is with the distractions. And this softening of the mind, quieting of the thinking mind, and relaxing of it, and settling of it, um, brings us to a place where we can abide, we can just dwell, we can kind of rest with awareness, rest in awareness, rest with the experience of breathing, or be stable in it. And that begins opening up new dimensions of mindfulness meditation, dimensions of the insight, because because we've kind of cleared out enough of the veils of thinking so we can be more settled in the present moment with direct experience. So in this meditation, maybe you can have some focus on this softening of the mind, the thinking mind, softening, relaxing, quieting, stilling. And part of that is how you return to the breathing. And maybe however often you wander off, be content that now you get to practice this returning, starting over again in a experimenting to how to find a nice way to do it. So assuming an upright meditation posture, and maybe a little bit, if you sway back and forth, twist your body a little bit, just gently, as a way of physically connecting to your body, and maybe making small adjustments so that you are a little bit better aligned in your body for meditation. And then letting the body come to stillness, and maybe appreciating that stillness more because you moved a little bit. And feeling the experience of eyes. How does your eyes feel right now? And if you haven't closed your eyes, gently close your eyes and feel how the eyes are different with the eyes closed. And see if you can soften your eyes, relax them. Maybe having the eyes rest in their sockets. Particularly helpful if we are still kind of searching with the eyes, even with the eyes closed. And then gently taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. And as you exhale, maybe there's some way that you can relax the thinking muscle, softening any tension, tightness associated with thinking. Almost as you exhale, the mind settles into the torso, down, and as if the mind has a chance to settle into a nice soft chair and relax finally, to relax after a long day of work, a long life of working. Letting your breathing return to normal. And still, as you exhale, to relax the body some more. The tensions of the mind are also often expressed in the body. Soften the belly. Soften in the shoulders. Soften in the face. And then gently, maybe lovingly, center your attention on the breathing. Maybe with the idea that using your awareness, you will accompany your breathing. And every time you exhale, let go of your thoughts. Or if you can't let go of them, see if you can quiet the thinking mind. Bring a greater calm to it. If you wander off in thought, see if you can return to breathing in an enjoyable way. And it might be enjoyable if you don't have a high standard, but be content with doing the best you can. Over and over again, settling into the breathing. Accompanying the breathing with a soft, committed attention, one breath at a time. Returning to your breathing. And with the mind as soft as it's possible, let your attention rest, almost like the mind is resting in the rhythm of breathing. As if the rhythm of breathing is like waves moving across the ocean. And awareness rides the waves up and down, coming and going, floating on the breathing. As you exhale, perhaps softening the mind, relaxing the thinking muscle, imagining the mind as a broad, still, quiet lake, cool, peaceful. As you exhale, letting go of your thinking, letting your thoughts float away off the surface of the peaceful lake. And whatever is not peaceful, can you for a few moments be aware of that peacefully, calmly. And then to turn your attention, your calm attention, outward into the world, to the people you'll encounter today in your neighborhoods, stores, colleagues, family, friends, who you hold in your heart. And while you're resting the mind, the kind of, without fixating on anything, be aware of the people of the world, their joys and their sorrows, the ways in which they live in all kinds of challenging ways. And to look upon it all, gaze upon it with the eyes of care, of compassion, quietly, peacefully. Gazing upon the world kindly. Offer your care to the world. Maybe through these words. May I contribute to the welfare and happiness of everyone. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. And may all beings everywhere be free. So hello, and so in our continued discussion of the exploration of the Satipatthana Sutta, we're spending time now with the refrain. There are 13 exercises in Satipatthana Sutta, and we're staying now with the first one, which has to do with breathing. But as this practice of breathing becomes more focused, more the awareness grows, then that awareness is available for insight. And that's what the refrains are about. So let me kind of repeat what I've said a number of times now, that the exercises are an engagement, a way of practicing that is meant to heighten our sense of awareness, to bring more clear awareness, stable awareness into the present moment. And in this case, breathing is helping us establish awareness in the present moment awareness. And the practices of knowing, of feeling, of relaxing are all there to support our ability for awareness to become stable in the present moment. Soft awareness, open awareness, clear awareness. And so when that starts becoming stable, that our awareness, our mindfulness, and then the description and the way we know we're kind of ready for the insights of the refrain is when we're able to abide observing our experience. And so the language in Pali is viharati, viharati, and it means to abide or to dwell. And it's used in the teachings of the Buddha for when once awareness is strong, once our capacity to stay present is really stable, and then we can abide in different things. We can abide in equanimity, we can abide in calm, we can abide in deep concentration states, we can abide in mindfulness, we can abide in awareness. And so this word abide is actually a very rich, important word in the suttas. And it's kind of pointing us, it's kind of indicating where we're going with mindfulness practice. It's not only about being mindful of our experience and seeing it clearly for what it is. That's very important. But it's also about developing this capacity to have present moment awareness so we can abide in it. And we can abide in our experience, and it goes along with observing the experience, and this observing, as I've said, is a very spacious, clear seeing that is not interfering or judging or reacting or fixing our experience, but we kind of settle back and just kind of see it clearly. Now we can start seeing it clearly for what it is in a clearer way, because by abiding, we're not attacking. By abiding, we're not reaching forward to grab or pulling away or doing stuff with our experience. We're just abiding with it. And that allows us to come to this place of just perceiving things in a very spacious, relaxed way. It's not easy to come there, but this is what the exercises, the mindfulness exercises in this text are supporting us and helping us to get there that way. And, it's sometimes takes a long time to keep doing breath meditation and keep coming back. And it's so beneficial to do this. And then eventually we come to a place where the benefit starts becoming that we can feel this abiding way of just being present. The reason why this is helpful, and for the purposes of this path of liberation, is that it frees up the mind from being fixated on concepts and ideas and stories and opinions, imaginations that we have. And so, for example, to use the example I've used now a number of times of watching a river go by, just sitting on the banks of the river, watching the river go by. And then, but then, the mind starts thinking about the river and start thinking, well, this river is not really flowing in the right location. If it was 100 yards further to the south, it'd probably be better there. It'd probably be nicer to sit there and look at it, to get more sun during the day. And we start thinking about, ruminating about this river. And as we think about the river, we're thinking about the river, but we're thinking about the concept of the river. We're no longer actually just watching and deeply absorbed in watching the river in and of itself. As we get absorbed in the concept of the river of the river is just a concept, and that has a certain kind of permanence to it. The concept maybe doesn't change so much. It's just the river. But if we kind of wake up from this rumination and sit back on the riverbank and back to the river itself, and just see directly with the river, we see that the river is actually a dynamic process of change. It's moving and flowing and all the time. And it's the moving, as we sit back and rest, it's the moving and flowing that allows us to settle back and just rest and be soft and relaxed. And sometimes letting go of our thoughts and letting go of anything else, just absorbed and watching it go by. That we cannot rest back and be absorbed in a nice, restful, abiding way if we're caught up in the thoughts about we have to move the river and how we're going to do this and how much it's going to cost and who do I write to make this happen. The mind then is kind of active and maybe even a little bit straining. It's work to have those thoughts. And so as the mind softens and relaxes and the thinking mind stops becoming a priority, that we have to figure out everything or by our thoughts or think everything out. But we start relaxing enough to start being not with concepts, with the direct experience. Then we start watching the changing nature of things. So it's kind of like watching, seeing a single leaf fall from a tree, and then immediately thinking about, oh no, now I have to sweep. Soon I'm going to have to sweep my yard, and it's going to be a lot of work, and maybe I need to buy a new rake, and then I'm kind of caught up in a world that doesn't allow me to really appreciate the wonderful flowing down of the leaf, and then as maybe the wind picks up or as the fall gets stronger, a lot of leaves begin falling at the same time, and I can't just fixate on one leaf falling. I just have to sit back and just kind of watch in a very broad, spacious, receptive way, all the leaves just falling and falling like snow just coming down. So this is, as we develop this practice, it turns out that so much of our experience of the body, our direct experience of the body, is more akin to the river flowing or the leaves falling than it is to a fixed concept. And often we live in the world of fixed concepts, ideas, and we're relating to what's happening in our experience through the lens of these concepts and ideas. And even the concept of breathing, inhale is a concept. If we're not fixating or focusing on that concept, but rather experience the inhale, experience the exhale, we see that the inhale is made up of many, many different sensations that are coming and going. It's kind of like a river of sensations that flow through us as we breathe in, as we breathe out. And we start seeing that actually I've sometimes had trouble with my breathing in meditation, and I got so worked up about my breathing was wrong, and I was, why can't I breathe better? And what I learned to do was not to worry about these kinds of thoughts, but rather to dip down into the contracted breathing, the tight breathing, whatever difficulty I had, and just kind of start feeling it directly, the experience itself. And the experience itself, sooner or later, you see it's actually made up of a lot of different small sensations that are coming and going into existence. They're there for a moment, they pass away, they come back in a moment later. the sensations of inhale are different than the sensations of exhale. When the inhale stops, all the inhale sensations have passed away, and the exhale sensations begin. And it might, sound boring that you're just kind of being involved in these sensations, but it's not as, it's just like watching a river. It's not to be relaxed and just absorbed in the beautiful flow of the process, of the dynamic nature of experience. So in this refrain then, as practice deepens, then it says, it explains, one abides observing, to use shorthand for today, one abides observing the changing experiences of the body. One observes the arising and passing of experiences in the body. And not that we're searching for it and trying to look for change. It's more like, you're not at the river looking, trying to search for how's the river changing, it's more like you settle back and relax and you can watch it change. So as mindfulness gets well established, as the awareness is established, and we can abide in the present moment in a way that just observes in a spacious, relaxed way, what we now get attuned to, is the changing nature of sensations in the body. And now the practice opens up in a different kind of way when we open up to seeing this changing nature. So we'll talk more about this, because this is probably the central insight of insight meditation, the insight into the changing nature, the inconstant flow of sensations, and why it's so important and why it's so central and appreciated so much. Is probably not so obvious to people who are kind of uninitiated into this world. Seems like there's much more important things to do in the world than look and see how things are changing in the body. And but I'll talk more about that tomorrow, and go a little bit further into this particular section of the refrain, which that says, abiding, one observes the arising experiences in the body. One observes the passing away experiences in the body. And one observes the arising and passing, the rising and ceasing of experiences in the body. So that's for tomorrow. So thank you very much.